Good morning, good after evening, wherever you are on this planet, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Greetings, salutations. We have just been through the equinox, so I hope that you are feeling balanced. I hope that you are feeling at peace, despite whatever chaos may be going on around us. So, I'm kind of excited today to bring up this topic of gene keys. And I only know a tiny little bit about gene keys, but a couple of friends of mine have been really into gene keys for a while. And I sort of started to look into it here and there and didn't really sink my teeth into it very much. But what Gaia has been doing, and actually, if you're watching today on whatever day it is, September 23rd, for 3 more days, you can watch these 3 episodes about the gene keys for free. So if you're subscribed, good for you because you're getting this notice right now. So go ahead and click on the link in the description to get yourself access to this first 3 episodes of this series about gene keys. So, what I am sort of gathering and understanding about gene keys is that I was telling someone that it's sort of like another divination system, but I don't want you to think it's a divination system like fortune telling. That's not how I use the tarot. But it's a system, it's based on the I Ching, which when I was studying in my shamanic energy medicine program, I think we spent like 1 week studying the I Ching, which is definitely not enough time to fully understand the richness and the insights that one can gain from the I Ching. And it is also, a dash of astrology. And I am not the world's most savvy astrologer. There are many, many, many people out there who know a lot more than I do. But it's based on your customized approach to gene keys is best worked through on your birth chart, right? And so it also has a bit of human design in there. And again, I only know a tiny little bit about human design, not enough to be able to teach anybody about it. But this I Ching, astrology, human design, and even this idea of the archetypes from the tarot, they're all very influenced by this. And even more fascinating and even more valuable, in my opinion, is I didn't realize until I was watching this series where the guy who developed Gene Keys is talking about his system that he developed. It's sort of his life's work. And just hearing him talk about it, I realized this is an incredibly valuable tool for doing any kind of shadow work. And if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know how important I believe shadow work is. I believe that shadow work is the absolute key to any soul's evolutionary journey. And so, and you can go, when you watch the program, they also have this, you can get your free birth chart. Everybody always does that. You can get it for human design, you can get it for astrology. So the birth chart in Gene Keys, what it does is it divides things into a lot of different categories: your life's work, your soul's evolution, what keeps you vibrant and healthy, what you're attracted to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's 64, right? And 64 is a sacred number. 64 has to do with all sorts of sacred geometry, ratios, and things like that. And so, and I think the I Ching also has 64. You don't call them symbols. I forget what you call them, but there's 64 concepts. Similarly in Gene Keys. And so what he has done with each of these 64 concepts is he's broken them down into a shadow aspect, a gift, and then what he calls siddhi, S-I-D-D-H-I, not like city where you live. And I'm just going to call that transcendence. So in each of these 64 cases, there is an opportunity to look at what is the shadow, which some people might call that a negative aspect. But I want us to kind of get away from negative and positive, because it's all about how we embrace the wholeness of ourselves and how we conceive of our scales of being and scales of knowing and existing. And so, for example, in my life's work, it happens to be gene key 16 is the one that is relevant to me based on my birth chart. So the shadow aspect of that is indifference. But the gift in that is versatility. And the transcendence is mastery. And so this is an interesting concept for me because one of the things that has been kind of a lifelong challenge for me, and also one that just about a year ago prompted a pretty deep personal spiritual crisis for me. And that is my relationship to discipline. And I have this sort of like, I can't get into programs or systems that are very highly rigid and disciplined. So, for example, like I wouldn't do well in the military, right? I wouldn't do well in any sort of, like you have to do things this way, and there's this, very rigid way to do things that has never jived with me. And yet at the same time, I recognize that people who do have the ability to engage in that discipline from a very personally motivated place can end up being very powerful forces in the world. And so for me, that's always been like, I prefer, that's why I love improvising. I prefer to have that kind of fluidity and flexibility. And yet, what I realized as I was listening to him talk and I was looking at my own chart is that so when you go into that indifference and you understand what that indifference is, you can become versatile and become the master of those things. And I also equate that to improvising in the blues as well, because you can't just start making things up and do a very good job at it. It's important to know and feel and understand the structures well enough that you can have the freedom to be able to have flexibility and expression within those parameters. And so that just to me was one kind of example of how these concepts, these shadows and gifts, when we look at them, and everyone is going to have slightly different ones that are relevant to them. I think that's why there's 64 concepts or 64 keys. And not all 64 of them are going to be relevant to everybody. But one of the hardest things to do in shadow work is to identify what the shadow is. And so here's this system which already gives you 64 options for looking at and examining and reflecting on what your own triggers are, what your own shadow expressions are, and how to look deep into those shadows, the things that we want to shun, the things that we want to push away. How do we look deep in those areas to find the truth that's going to give us the gift? And that's going to be true for any shadow work you do at all. So I haven't bought the book yet, but I swear I'm going to buy the book. Here's the guy. I just want to show his picture again. So this is the guy. He's the one that's going to be narrating this series, which is on Gaia. And again, go get it for free. You may as well get it for free. I'm a big fan of getting things for free. So go sign up to watch this for free and get your free birth chart and start doing the work that we all need to be doing so that we all can live beautiful, heart-centered, compassionate lives where we support each other and ourselves through our conscious soul's evolution. So I'm going to make this a short episode today because I'm back off of the injured roster. I am now able to actually sit in a chair for enough time to do these episodes. So I wanted to get this out there before the free trial ended for this Gene Keys episode on Gaia. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon. Cheers.